I woke up with a memory today from when I was a child living in Sokoto. My mother's bathroom had a quote hanging on the door that said, "Life's battles are not always won by those who are stronger or faster. Sooner or later, the people who win are those who think they can." My name is Aisha Augie, and this is I Love Your Work podcast, brought to you by the 1960 Company. Today I have with me a young, vibrant, beautiful individual who's a philanthropist, an investment banker, an entrepreneur, and many, many other things. But to me, she's my little sister. Her name is Maryam Augie-Abdulmumin. Welcome to the show, Maryam.
Thank you, Aisha. Thank you for having me.
Isn't this weird for you?
It is very weird.
I've been saying I'm sure we'll end up giggling all through. So I remember this quote. I don't think you would have the memory of it because you were a little child then. You know, with the many years of gaps that we have between ourselves.
Well, you don't have to make it so.
But anyway, the whole essence of you being on the podcast is for me to tell you I love your work.
Aww.
I may not get to say that a lot. And as your big sister, I've watched you grow, thrive, and make such excellent changes and affect so many people's lives positively. So I want to talk about the illmi Children's Fund.
Okay.
You're not an educationist, but the illmi Children's Fund is connected to education. I know how it started, but I want you to tell the audience how this began.
Well, let me start by saying thank you to you as well. You have been a pillar of support for me from day one.
Aww.
I don't think I could have done it without you.
Aww.
So in as much as you're saying you love my work, you have been a lot of the inspiration that has made me, that has taken me as far as I am. So for illmi Children's Fund, where do I begin? It started about 11 years ago as Aisha Foundation, as you may know. When a friend of mine passed away with her younger sister, November 18th, 2010.
I can
never forget that. Never. We were like mad women on the street. Do you remember?
Honestly, we like,
on the street, just going back and forth.
We had a phone call. I was chatting with Fatima Yahya. I remember the time, it was 1:15 p.m. Mm-hmm. So she sent me a message. It was on Blackberry.
Yes.
It was on Blackberry at
yes.
the time. And she sent the last words of the prophet.
Yes, that was the last message.
So I replied and I was like, Fatima. So
and it was on a Thursday.
It was on a Thursday. And I was like, because you went to Zaria, you are now Ustaz, like blah, blah, blah. And I was expecting a reply and then I dozed off. I remember you coming into the room. You were just shouting. Like, mm-hmm. They said, I'm like, will you calm down? What's going on? They said, I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, they said they had an accident. I'm like, what are you talking about? Who's they first? Yeah. And who are the they that had the accident? Yeah. And it was our house. Our house was the last place they came to.
Yes, before they left.
Zaria.
Yes.
I believe they went for...
they went to visit their family from Zaria to Kano and then back,
yes,
I believe.
Yes, and then there was an accident on the way back. Yes. And you had called and someone picked up the phone. Yes. So I remember us like leaving.
Yes.
We ran to the auntie's house. We couldn't go in.
Yes.
We didn't know what to say. And Fatima and Aisha, may Allah rest their soul, were just such beautiful souls. Individuals.
Absolutely.
And souls.
Absolutely.
And Aisha Foundation is their name spelled
the other way around. Yes. So that's basically what started, and what started like a foundation that kind of keep the memory alive. And each time I would go into a community, I would find that the level of underdevelopment in most of these northern communities was almost heartbreaking, especially when it came to education.
Yes.
And so we delved into a lot of things, because when you get into the developmental space, one thing I find out, you tend to think you can solve all of the problems. You would do everything. So you go, you do the entrepreneurship, you do the water, you do the education, until you find that niche of yours that you tend to hold on to and you think. And for me, I felt it was education.
Yes.
And I felt that with the number of out of school children that we have and the number of illiteracy that we have, especially in the northern part, I felt it would be a very, very important important step to take in ensuring that, at least if for nothing, I live by the motto that if I'm able to change the life of one child, then I believe that everything that I have done as an organization and as an individual is a success. And we just keep pushing and keep pushing and keep striving.
Right now, I think you have 4,000 children on the database?
Thereabout, yes.
So the Illmi Children's Fund, there's an app.
Yes.
That people can select the child they want to sponsor.
Yes.
Right? So you had this, I hear you were doing the wells, the water. I know there were a couple of students that you took on that have graduated all through from primary,
Yes, they're in university right now.
Right now. So it's been a long time coming. For you, your education, you know, you studied business management, what was it?
International
business.
Yes.
And then
I have an MBA as well.
You had an MBA.
Yes.
And I know you forayed into the investment banking sector.
Yes.
And all these experiences for you, like education, how do you feel it impacted you as an individual?
Well, for me, I think it made all of the difference, Aisha. And what is really heartbreaking for me now is, and I say this everywhere I get the opportunity to speak, and I've heard you speak about it as well, that we're products of the public school system.
We are.
You most especially, who's a product of all the way through. To university. Do you get? And to be honest, the level and quality of education that we received not too far ago, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, 30 years ago, the quality of education that we received back then is comparable to what these children in private schools, not even better. Remember when we were in primary school, we would do the farming, we would do the soap making. So we had all of this skill.
I remember a ridge. I had an entire ridge and I planted groundnuts. I was so happy with it the next year.
If you remember, there was a time I did the whole soap making thing and I injured a cousin of ours in trying to make, and the thing blew up all up in it. But these are some of the things that were so. And where were we? We were in Sokoto, and the level of education that we had when we were in Lagos was almost the same with what we had when we were in Sokoto. So for me, I believe that it's made all of the difference. It's exposed me to a whole lot. It's opened my eyes to the world of impossibilities. You know, there's absolutely nothing that you can't achieve. And I'll give an example of, this person. We have this person that Aisha and I know, who is very outspoken, I'm talking about Zali here, who is very outspoken. Exceptional human being. But you and I know the only thing that she has is the limitation of having an education.
And even just literacy,
yes. So, exceptional human being can thrive wherever she finds. Anywhere you take her to, you grow abroad with her, give her a day or two, she's found her way. But what is the limitation? No education. So you look at all of these people, and I was saying to you earlier that talent is universal, right? Opportunity is limited.
Yes.
Now, there's so many talents out there, so many, but what is the problem? Is the opportunity. And we are simply saying, how do we create that opportunity for some of these individuals? How do we change the trajectory of their lives for some of these individuals? And ultimately, that's really what Illmi Children's Fund is about.
Yeah, and I think that's why I decided to pick that quote.
Yes.
Even though it did come to mind this morning, I was just going through, I was thinking, okay, Maryam's coming on, like what are the things that we would talk about, and the memories started flooding in. And that quote in particular that says, those who win are those who think they can, right?
Yes.
I feel for a lot of these young people, just the fact that they know, not young people, but people who haven't had an education, when they do, they seem to thrive a lot more than everybody else because they don't take it for granted.
Yes.
You know, and I feel if someone like Zali gets her energy, gets everything right, and decides that I am going to learn, oh my God, the world is her stage.
Oh yes.
The world is her stage.
Oh yes.
You know, so I want to say, okay, also, when selecting children and, you know, the ones that you've met and the help that you've given and everything that you've done, how does it feel? You know, like I sometimes, when I'm seeing the videos or like talking to some of them or seeing the change in their lives or speaking to their parents, I'm just like, wow.
Yes. It's to be honest with you, it's an amazing feeling. And I'll give an example, and I give this example all the time, and you know him, of Abuja.
Abuja.
You know, when I met this little boy who was in a classroom, completely dilapidated, on the floor, and his teacher says to me, this boy is brilliant, he can spell anything, we were able to get him an opportunity to write an exam and actually go into a private school system. And I remember the day I was at the airport when they called me to see the results, and I wanted it to be based on merit.
Yes.
Because once it's based on merit, you know that you worked hard for what it is, and you would continue to work hard knowing that you deserved being there. And I remember the day I was told that he passed the exam. He didn't only pass, he came second. And the person who came first even has more of an inspirational story. I'll get to that later. I started screaming at the airport. Nobody knew what was going on, but I started screaming, yes, he made it. I wasn't even happy about the person who came first. I was like, yes, he made it, yes. And as I speak to you today, he's studying mechanical engineering in university.
I love it.
So it's amazing. And for the person who came first, I think it boils down to same thing with your quote. The mother believed in the ability of her son.
Yes.
Everybody was already
he was the one that came last minute, right?
Aisha, everybody was already there. We had already sat, everybody had sat for the exam.
Yes.
Then this woman appears. Please, 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 my son has to take this exam. He's very intelligent. I'm like, I'm sorry, we're already done. There's not, please, 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 please. She kept begging. I was like, okay, no problem, go get your son. But if you're getting your son, tell the school to give you the top 5 of his class, because that's what we did.
Yeah.
We went to each of these schools and we're like, give us your top 5. So she went to the school and the principal was like, I'm sorry, I can't release top 5, blah, blah, blah. I can only give you my son. She's like, okay, no problem. This guy topped it. And even when he got the scholarship, he topped the scholarship all the way up.
And I think he's even on scholarship now.
Yes, he's on scholarship right now. And then apart from that, he's also a very good footballer. He's a goalkeeper.
Wow.
Excellent goalkeeper. So his dream is to become what? A computer engineer and then a football player, and he's doing excellently well. So these kind of stories
But you see what makes me laugh, and especially connected to that quote, Dan Abuja is not his real name.
No, it's not his real name.
Dan Abuja means an Abuja son.
I'm an Abuja boy.
Yes, and he was in the village in Argungu, one of the villages in Argungu, and he had a vision to become.
He said to himself, he always tells
I'm going to be in Abuja.
He tells his classmates, Sunana Dan Abuja, meaning
With
my
pride.
name is Dan Abuja. I'm not from this you people's village. I'm from I'm not from your village. I'm from Abuja.
And the nickname of the first one is Captain.
Captain. Yes.
And you see, for me, that's like
captain.
Already saying,
and he was a captain through it all.
Yes.
He came first through from JS1 all the way to SS3, and
I'm
he
sure
did excellently
be
well.
Captain in the school. I think he's in Turkey or where now?
Now he's in University of what's it called? Nasarawa State University.
Okay, but he did for that. So I just want to say, I really appreciate the effort and the time, and I know the kind of stress and what you go through behind the scenes to ensure that these kids continue to have an education. For me, I know I wasn't really a fan of school like that, but I was always first at it. Tell them.
No comment. Yes, she was always first. She always tried to be the best. I always.
I still try.
Always.
Stop being sarcastic.
No, I'm not being sarcastic, to be honest with you. Aisha here has a spirit like no other. And when I said in the beginning that she inspires me, she truly, truly does inspire me, because Aisha has no limitations.
I don't.
There are no limitations in your dictionary. Honest to God, there is no limitation in your dictionary. You just don't see any stumbling. If it cannot be solved, move on. Look for onto the next thing. Look for. Unlike me, who would sit and be delving, thinking, how do I solve it? How do I do this? How do that? You just move and you find the way.
For me, I'm like, if I cannot change something now, I don't see why I should waste my time dealing with it. I might as well move on to the next thing. And whenever I need to, so if there's an emergency right now, I know I have to deal with that now. Everything else stops. But if it's an emergency that I can't do anything about, what's the point?
You just take it with a smile, Aisha.
Because life is too short, Maryam.
You take it with a smile and just
life is too short. But I think we're also just different. When it comes to like emotions, for me, as a child, and these are the things that we need to talk about when we're thinking about generational trauma, mental health, things like that. What makes you who you are?
Yeah.
I was young, and remember in primary school, I was taken out of school and sent to the US. I was all by myself in a way, right? I went with my brother, but he left. And I had to take, like, I remember our uncle who I was staying with at the time had 2 jobs. And so I had to take care of myself a lot. And then I went to 6 primary schools? I went to at least 6 primary schools. So I think for me, looking back, and now that I think about, there are times that you have to sit down and think about, how are you the way you are? What makes you the way you are? What are the things that have happened in your life that make you
what
who
shaped
you are? What
you.
shaped you, exactly, and molded you. And for me, that level of independence and can-do spirit came with the fact that I had to constantly leave everything behind. Like, there was no... You know,
you start
I
here
had
and
friends
you move,
here,
you're
and
disrupted,
then the next thing,
and
I had to move to the next school. I had to make friends all over again. So I think looking back now, I'm like, it got to a point where I'm like, well, I didn't die. Do you understand? If I need to move on to another job, I've switched up on my career so many times where I'm doing so well in something, I drop it and I move to the next one. You know, and I feel it had a lot to do with that background. You know, traveling, learning about people, being in different states at different times. Like, you would pick me up from holiday and I don't know.
You don't know where you're going.
I didn't know what
we wouldn't know where we're going. We wouldn't know what state we were going on holiday. We don't know what home we were going to on holiday. I went to like 3 primary schools and 4 secondary schools. And to be honest with you, like you said, it's very important that we discuss some of these things, being that this generation of children are very aware. We weren't as aware about what mental health is and how some of these emotional...
And it wasn't communicated.
It wasn't communicated. So some of these emotional things, how they can affect your upbringing. But a 10-year-old today can tell you, oh, when I was 3 years old, you did this to me, and for that, that's the reason why we didn't have the liberty to do that.
Like, I remember my son, I came and I was like, if you people try that, remember how they were, I will beat you and you are not allowed to cry. Remember, we went through that a lot. And then my son goes, Mama, why are you traumatizing little children? Like, that's trauma, you see? And I was like, back in the day, how dare you to talk?
Who are you?
How dare you?
But back in the day, Aisha, as well, it was a communal society.
Yeah, we genuinely had.
We had the community every yes. Your neighbors even your megad was part of your upbringing.
Yes.
Even I keep telling I keep telling people, back when we were growing up, 80% of your upbringing was based on what you got from your immediate community, that is from your home, and 20% is external. We've got into a society today where 70-80% is actually external. Is external today, is external, and 20-30% because most of the influence that these children go through are from some of these devices, what they learn.
TikToks and Snapchats and all the different
They don't have any interest.
Pages,
So by the time they grow up, they're more interested in likes, followers, and all of these other things that are not really real. You know, so it's very important that we actually start virtual reality.
But guess what? I read something today that said children who play 3 hours of games a day have more brain function than those who don't.
But these children play like 10 hours a day, Aisha.
I think a lot of us are learning to limit it one way or the other. But then there's also addiction. They get addicted to that.
Yes, they do.
When there's
and
no
then when
internet,
you take it away, they're literally, you can, like drug addicts on withdrawal. They're fidgeting
they
and
they can't function. They just can't function.
It's amazing.
But I look back at how we grew up.
Yes.
There was no internet.
No.
We hardly ever had electricity, right?
No.
In most of the places we lived.
Your landline.
We would wait at 4 p.m. for the TV stations to come on. And we had cartoons, I think 4 to 6, and that was it.
You're watching Tales by Moonlight and the rest
and you know, all these things.
But we had the liberty of having Sky back then.
No, but that came way later.
Later, yes. So I think, like I was saying, we're very lucky that we had a sense of community when we were growing up. This generation doesn't have that social capital, you know, where everything kind of...
And I think the network, because everywhere we go, you know someone who knew someone who... We were in primary school together, we were this together, we were in Sunday school together, Islamia together.
My daughter just has a friend over at the house right now It's Aloha's daughter. So I was looking at, I was looking at Aloha. I was like, look at it from one generation. Our fathers were best of friends. We are friends. Our kids are now friends, and all independent of each other, you know. So I think we need to do more as a society to ensure that our children have that connection, that we kind of bring them together to know one another and uplift one another, to be honest with you.
You know, me and you will get carried away. We'll just continue. See how we forgot your work.
And we're talking this thing about.
But one thing we love to do on the show is to give flowers to those who deserve them. So I'm sprinkling your flowers.
Thank you.
And I also want to give you our merchandise. We are powered by the 1960 company.
Thank you. I love it.
And we have this for you.
Thank you.
And of course the mugs.
You can take you. I can take with it.
But then you know you always come and steal my own anyway.
Absolutely.
So
I'm stealing more than that, Seth.
So just to tell you, I love your work, Maryam, and the world is watching, and everybody is very inspired by you. Anyone who interacts with you, you know, I'm always like, yeah, that's my sister.
Well, I'm almost clear. Yes, are you Aisha Augie's sister? Yes, I am. You know, so.
She used to claim to be me. This
yes,
girl.
yes.
They'd be like, Aisha, she's like, yes,
that's me. But now I'm claiming Aisha Augie's sister, you know, everywhere. You know,
I'm the one claiming to be Maryam Augie's sister. Do you know my sister?
Do you know my sister? Like your son said, do you know my mother? Do you know who she is?
Oh my God, posh. Anyway, thank you so much for coming
Aisha,
on the show. We will bring you back.
Thank you.
I have one gist we want us to gist, but that will be putting you in the general public.
Voila.
I just posted on Instagram saying I'm coming for you for outing me. So the next one is gonna be serious.
No problem.
Seriously,
I'm here for you, Aisha. But like you are always here for me. So thank you
so
as well.
much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
And this is I Love Your Work Pod with Aisha Augie. I am styled by @Lady May. Maryam is dressed in @Hodeiya.
Yes, I am.
And we say, choose Nigerian, choose African.